Guys, welcome to this video. In this video we're going to create this review application using React.js. So we have rating here, and for the each user there's a rating, username, and some comment we can add as well, we can delete as well. We are also implementing we're going to see the animations here. So if I delete here, you can see that there is a nice animation going. You can add, just simply type here the username. So we also added the validation, the name, and comment should be more there, longer than 8 characters. So it's a Smith, and then some comment here, and after that we can save it, so it comes here straight away with the comment and rating as well as the name. So let's see how we can build this in React.js. Guys, so make sure you have Node.js installed in your computer. You can go to nodejs.org and you download the according to your system, and then you can search for Reactjs on Google and you will reach the reactjs.org. This is the React website. I click on getting started, and here we have the installation, and here we're gonna install this. So we have create app, and here create new React app, and when I scroll down, we get a command that we need to run. So what I do, I'm going to open the terminal. I'm going to clear the screen here. Alright, so I'm going to go to the desktop of my computer and again clear the screen, and I'm going to run this command here. So simply copy and paste. Alright, so it's going to be the new application, and by default React is providing name as my app, so you can give any name. I'm gonna leave it the same what they have assigned, so my app. And yeah, so I'm gonna hit enter or return. So here it's gonna create an app for us. So here React already created a folder, you can see here it's going, so we need to wait till it completes. You can open it in the text editor. I'm going to use the Visuals code here, Visual Studio Code, and yeah. Alright, so we have the application created. We have these files here. Package.json is the main file where you can see the app here, the app name we define, the version of app. You can set if you want to. There are some scripts here, like to start the scripts, and this is all for now. We're gonna not go too deep into it, so if I'm gonna close it. So now what we need to do, if we go back here, so React suggested us to go inside the folder and then run the npm start. So we're gonna do the same, and the same thing they mentioned here as well. So we're gonna copy this command and paste here. Now I'm inside the my app, so I can run the npm start. And now when you run the npm commands, you need to have a Node.js installed in your system, so that's why I ask you to make sure you have it. Other than that, we have here npm run build. So when you want to upload this project to the production, so you will be using this command. For running the tests, we have here npm test, we have the npm run eject, and basically the most of the time you will be working with the npm start as well as npm run build. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to say here, paste this npm start, I'm going to hit return, and it is gonna, it says, would you like to run app on another port instead? So I had the other app running on the 3000 port. It's asking me if I want to run it on another port, but you won't get this thing. You will be getting the app running straight away in the browser. So I'm gonna do yes here. Right, so as I did the yes, it assigned port 3001, and now you can see it's also said no, that development build is not optimized, and to create a production build, run this command. So we can deal with that later. For now, not for now. So now it's going to look for the changes and going to update it. So here, this is the React app we have by default provided, and some animation is going on here. So what we're going to do, basically, if we go into the folder structure here, node modules is going to have all the packages that we need. We are going to be installing, and they will install in this directory. So we are not going to touch this directory as it is the packages, so pre-built packages that you installed. Now in the public directory, we have the index.html. When I open this file, there is a div with the ID of root. So whatever we do in React, it is going to render on this index.html and on this ID. And you can change this ID, totally up to you, but you need to make sure whatever ID you provide here, you will be providing the same ID in React settings. So I'm going to show you in a moment. So I'm going to close this folder. Now when I go to source directory, here you will notice we have app CSS, and then we have app.js. These files are here that's making this page running so far. So what do we need to do? We need to start from scratch. So I'm going to delete these files here. I'm going to delete app.css, app.js, I'm going to leave it. App tests, we are not running any tests, so I'm going to delete it. Index CSS and index.js, we need it. So I'm going to leave it here. And then we have logo SVG, the logo rotating here, so we don't need it. I delete that file. So for making it as simple as possible, I'm going to delete these setup tests as well. All right, so if you notice, we have only app.js, index.js, and report web vitals. And if I go to index.js here, we have the React coming from React. Now it is referring to this node modules. So if you go here and scroll down, you will see a folder with the name of React. So I'm scrolling down and looking for that folder. It's here, and that's what it is saying, that get React from React folder inside this packages directory. And that's why I said, like, we are not going to touch this. We need React DOM to work on the React application, so we are importing that here. Index.css, we removed it, so we can delete this line. App.js we have, so we will be maintaining this here. And other than that, we have report web vitals, but I'm going to remove this as well. And for now, we're going to have pretty basic setup, so I'm going to remove this file too. All right, so we have here now. Here mainly, if I go back here, we have app CSS as logo SVG. That is okay. We see that. So I mentioned that in public index.html we have the div with the ID of root. If you see here, we are saying that use React DOM, which is we are calling from here, and we are saying create root, and then we are passing the element ID, and which is the root. So this is the place where you need to update if you, in case you change the ID. So it is binding there, and there all your app going to be rendered. You can see here. All right. So here we have basically what we're saying include this app component. So in case if I remove this and I say hello, and we need to go back here for now, and I'm gonna comment this. Now you can see that we are getting hello. So you can see that it's rendered our content here. So if I say simply I cut this and paste it here, and inside it I'm gonna create a h1 tag. All right, and I'm gonna put our hello inside it. Okay, now if we go back, you can see that our hello is in h1 tag. So basically whatever we pass here, it is going to render. So we don't want to do directly stuff here. We need to pass a component basically. So what we do, we simply say, okay, we have app component, please include it here and render it here. And we need to import the component on top. Whatever you call this component, you don't want to call it app, but it's a good practice to have a main component to be called app. We can call it anything else if you want to, but make sure you import it on the top and then call it like this. Now we're getting few errors. Now this is happening because it is something to do with app component itself. So let's correct that. We go inside this app component, we are importing the SVG. We removed that file already. So if you remember from the source directory, so we can do okay, by mistake. Okay, so we can remove this and we can remove this. All right. So here we need to just have a function app and then returning this content here. I am going to remove everything here, and here now we are getting okay, we need to pass something inside it. So I'm gonna pass this like this, and then I'm gonna say hello. Now you will see hello here. So you're seeing that this index.js, we are passing our component and we are passing it here, and here we are passing the hello in our component, so that hello is rendering here. All right, so that's how it all works. Now one thing to note here, we cannot have multiple divs or tags inside render return. So here, for example, if I put here, so I can have like this, but I copy this and paste it here. This is not allowed, we can't do that. So for example, if I go here and create a div, all right, and like this is allowed, but if you have more than div, you will get error. So you can see that. So the solution is, what React expects you to do is that create a single div and put inside your divs as many you want. So for example, here I have this div, so I can have as many I want. This time there's no error. And if you don't want div, you can have this empty like this, and you can have multiple divs inside it. So the main point is, the main root, it shouldn't be having multiple divs or empty tags. So make sure you care about that. All right, so I'm going to remove this for now because we don't want empty divs here. We need to work here. So here, hello again, one more time. Oh, and you will see hello there. Okay, so what we need is, we need to create a review application. So for that, I'm going to create two directories inside our source, because here all our files going to go. Currently we have index, and there we are calling the app, and then we have app here, which is sitting next to it. So I create a folder here, and I call this folder files. All right, and this file is going to have a file. It's going to be, I'm going to call it review list. So I say review and list.js. And I'm going to put here some dummy content. So I'm going to copy paste in here. You can see that I have a constant, which is a review list, and which is equal to an array of objects. And at last, we are saying export default this constant. Now this constant has objects, which has the ID, name, rating, comment. So this is what we are going to show by default, because we want to have some content that we need to work with. So this is the demo content. Now we need to include it. So what I do is simply close this file, because we don't need that file there. So here I'm going to say import, and we need to import the review list, and we can say from, and we need to say the directory, so it's inside files and then review list. All right, so we have this file here now. Okay, also, because we are working on the React.js, I want to concentrate mainly on React.js, so I'm gonna add a CSS file. So that file we're going to have some CSS, so that we won't be dealing with it that much. So simply I'm going to create that file here inside files, and here I'm going to call it app.css. All right, simply, and I'm going to copy paste some CSS here. So here we go, simple CSS, nothing fancy. So we're going to create a card component. We will have card header. So we are just passing some padding, color, those kind of stuff. Nothing too important. So I'm going to close this. As this file, we need to include it as well. And here I'm going to call import, and we want to import it. We don't need to give it any name. We simply say here slash files slash and the file name, so app.css. All right, and it is going to be included. So to see what I can do here, if I go here and I put here, let's say, I do is simply say, I say here all, and then I say color red. Okay, so if I go here, you can see that the hello turned red. So our CSS is working. We don't want it red, so I'm going to remove the CSS. So the point is that the thing we included is working. Right, so it's time to create the review. So what I do, I'm gonna remove this hello. I'm going to give it a class, and when you give class in React, because React is working with JSX, so it is not exactly HTML. We need to pass the class name like this, and if you remember that we used the container, so we can use this class to have everything centered. So I'm gonna pass that class here, and if anything I pass here now, like for hello, once again you can see it is in the center now. So that's how the CSS is making it better. Now I want to include a new component that we don't have currently, so let's do that. So we go here, and here we create another directory inside source. So I'm going to say a folder, I call it components. All right, and here we're going to create all our components. So the first one we want to create is the reviews, and I want to call it .gsx. All right, and to get the structure of this component, I'm gonna say here React functional component, and it is going to generate a default structure. We don't need import statement on top, so I can remove it. You can see that returning reviews. So if I go here, I need to call that component. So I simply say here import reviews from, all right, and then dot slash components slash views. All right, and now we can call this component, and the way we were using the echo, hello previously, now we have the component of ours showing up here. So if I go back to the browser, we are seeing the reviews that is coming from here. Now to generate the default boilerplate, you can go to the extension and look for React, and there is this extension. You need to install it, and this is gonna make things easy for you when you're generating the default stupid. So there are a few of these, you can check them here. So what I'm gonna do now, we need to show the React list, and we already have it called here, but we are not using it. So what I do, I'm going to take this from here, I'm going to take it to the reviews, because here we're going to loop through our reviews, and I'm going to paste it on top here. Now we need to create another component which is going to be each review, so that's going to display the review. So I'm going to create that here. So I'm going to call it each review. All right, .gsx, and React functional component. We can remove this on top. All right, so I go back here. So here we have the React list coming. So what we need to do now, so what I simply say is here I'm going to create a state, and that state is going to be constant. I'm going to call it reviews. So reviews, and the state is kind of variable, but we need to define here, tell exactly how we want to update it. So we pass here set reviews. So we are saying to React, okay, we have a variable here which is a state, and set reviews, we will call this function to update this reviews. And by default, we use state. All right, so use state basically takes a parameter, and that parameter is going to be the review list. All right, so we're going to pass it here. Okay, this might be a bit confusing, but bear with me here. So what we are doing, we're using a hook from React. We are using this hook. What we are doing, we are setting a default value to a variable, and that variable is basically a state. So we are saying, okay, reviews going to have all the reviews from review list, and whenever we want to update these reviews, we will be using this function. All right, so you're defining a name, whatever name you want, you can define here. Stays the same. Here you can change them any way you want, or as well as the parameter here. Okay, so now we calling the use state, so we need to include it on top. So I say here import, and I say React, comma, then we say here use state, and then we say from React. All right, now it is getting included, and then we can use it, so that's all right. Now we are getting a can't resolve review list module not found. Okay, so now we are inside here, so that's maybe the issue here. So if I put dot here, yeah, now the error goes away. Yeah, perfectly fine now. So as we had the reviews inside this file, and we also passed it to our state, we can loop through the state. So let's do that. So what I do, I remove this. I simply say here, all right, so let's loop through. So we say reviews dot map, and here in map we get arrow function. And what I want to do, I want to say each review as an item, and we also get the index. All right, and inside it here we need to return something. So here I'm going to call the each review, so this component that we have, so we need to call it. So what do? We simply say here, first of all, we need to include it, import each review, and it is in the same directory, so it included it. Now I can pass it here like this. Now if you see that you're not getting any display or white screen, make sure you are returning it, otherwise it is not going to work. Alright, so now when you are going to loop through basically using map, you need to make sure that your reviews has something in it. So I'm going to put here a validation for it. So what I say is simply say review.length. Alright, if it is more than 0. And here I'm going to use a ternary operator, so I put question mark. So simply say if it is more than 0, then map through it. Otherwise, simply tell us that there is no reviews. So we say here no reviews, like this. Here is another tip, guys. So as you see, it's a white screen. We have no clue what is wrong. So as it's a JavaScript, we can go into console. So inspect and go in console. You will see there are some errors. So here we got some errors. It says like I use somewhere class. Did you mean class name? So we need to make sure that we use class name. Here I use class name, and in each I did not. Yeah, so far I'm using class. If I refresh here. Okay, so I refreshed, and as we don't have anything there class, so I don't know, maybe it was in the cache. Alright, so okay, you can see that we have few reviews. What happened is it looped through each of review. It called each time each review, but inside each review you see only the text showing up here. That's the reason we have this text like this. So what we need to do here, we need to pass the data. So let's pass the data. So here we can say, all right, so our review is an item. So you can pass item like this, and we need to pass a key as well. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna pass here index. All right, so what we can do now, we can access this as a prop in our each review. So I go there, I paste here, we say props, and inside it, instead of I'm gonna say props dot review. Okay, so the item, we got it as a review. Now we also got the error because props review, if you go inside the files, each object has ID, name, rating, comment. So we need to pass one of these values there. So we need to say review dot name like this. And if I go now and refresh, okay, small mistake here. So we're getting this error here, and that's because when we pass here as a props, so we don't need to include an object like that. So now it should be fine. If I go here, we can see that it is getting that name from that review. So now that's one way to pass it. So we pass review here, we say, okay, we have a prop, and we are saying prop has a review and then the name. But you can also pass an object, and then you can simply say review, the name that you passed here. So we pass here review, you pass review like this. Now we don't need to say props.review, so just review.name. So if I go back here, refresh, you see everything is working just fine. So that's how I prefer. So we do it this way. Now what we want to do, we need to work with the each review. So we need to show how each review should display the data. So because we already have the review, so we can show each of the field. We can show rating, comment, everything. So let's do it. So here, I'm gonna remove this div to tag like this. I'm gonna create here div, and here I'm gonna call this as a card header. All right, and inside this card header, we can pass a span. So span, and I also want to give it a class name. I want multiple spans here, so I'm going to copy this, paste like this, and now I need to pass the class name. So here I'm going to show rating. After rating, I want to show the username, so it's going to be name. After that, I want to show the basically icon. So icon goes here. Now here we can say the review dot rating. All right, and here I say review dot name, and for icon I'm gonna leave it now, and after this div I'm gonna create another div, and I'm gonna call here class name again, and this is going to be comment, and we just need to copy this, and instead of name it's gonna be comment. Okay, so if you see issues like this, make sure your divs are closing right. So you can see here div is closing, but here we might think this is closing, but it is not. It should close like this. Otherwise, it's gonna give the error the way it is giving. So now it should be fine. We shouldn't be having any errors. All right. So yeah. Now what we need is basically we need to have the icon. And for that, we're going to use the font awesome. Well, here is the link. You will find it in the description. We need to install this for the application. So this is the font awesome. Basically, we need to run this command to access the font awesome free icons. I'm going to copy this, go back to terminal, and I'm going to open the new tab here. And I'm in the same folder, so I can run this. And basically, we'll be able to use the font awesome icons. So here on the each component we need to include the font awesome. So I'm gonna include on top, copy paste the code here. So we just calling a trash icon from the font awesome, and we want to use it here. And we also need to call the font awesome icon so we can include it. So here simply, so you can read more about it here. So basically we ran the command here. All right, so here you can see React setup with React, and then add icon to React. So you can scroll and see the example how they are including it. Yeah, everything like here we are importing it, then we are calling it like this. And the more basically you need to check the documentation here. So I'm gonna simply call this inside here and close this tag, and then we need to pass here as icon, and we are going to pass the font trash here simply. All right, now it should display it. So we go back to our application here. We are seeing the things as Spark working at the back, but we have some error can't resolve font awesome. So basically we need to run this command as well. So this is the code that we included previously. Now we need to add this too. So just gonna copy this and I'm gonna go to terminal and paste here. We also need to run this command for the React font awesome latest. So I run this and it should fix it. And it is also given here add React components, so it's here. All right, so all is well then. So we have some of the tasks reviews already showing up from our file. So we have the icon showing up here as well. It's deleted. So far so good. We have it here, and we have each of the reviews showing. So here, this is where it is actually the trash icon is coming from. So what I'm gonna do is simply gonna say here on click. So you can put here a function. So we can create here what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put a prop here. So I'm gonna call it a handle, and I'll call it delete. Now we don't have it correctly, so let's put it there. Now if you recall, we used the view prop which was coming from here, right? So the same way we need to have this prop coming from here too. So for that, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna first move it here, and here, say here, handle, delete, and here inside it, there's going to be a function. We're gonna call it like this, like arrow, and it's gonna be delete review. All right, so we have access to item, so we can pass an item ID. So we can do that. So we say here item dot ID like this, and you get the idea. We now have prop going, which is going here, and one click this prop will fire. Now here we are passing a delete review, and we are passing the ID. So we need to create this function here. So what we can do above the return, we can say here function, and that's going to be delete review, and it is receiving an ID. And then what we want to say that we need to remove this ID on click of this delete icon. So for that, we know that we have all the reviews coming here inside it, right? So we just need to remove it one by one from here, from this state. So all we do, we set this state, all right? And you can name it anything, but make sure you put set in front of it, and let's do it. So what I do here, I simply say set reviews, and here we can put array which doesn't have this ID. All right, so we need to write a logic here, a bit of a logic. So how we do it, basically, first I'm gonna do it straight away. So I say here reviews, dot filter. All right, it's a JavaScript function, and inside this function I will open an arrow function like this. Okay, so what it does basically, it is we're gonna get an item, and then it says where we have the ID, which is coming here, is not equal to item.id. All right, so it is going to return every single item where this ID is not equal to item ID. So it's obviously it's gonna going to give us all the rest of the reviews, but it's gonna leave the one we clicked on. We can do simply can cut it, and what we can do, we can put it inside it, and then we can test it as well. All right, so let's see what happens. First we have an error. It's assignment functions. So here we need to put return. So we are saying, okay, where ID is not equal to the ID in item, return the only those reviews. Okay, so here if I go now and click on Mark, it goes away. Raj goes away. Stacy goes away. Albert goes away. We'll keep on clicking, and everything is, they are getting away from that particular array. Each time a single one is getting out of it. So that's how it is working. For working with star rating, there is this package React stars, so you can use this package. So we're gonna install it. Just copy the command from here, go to the terminal, and I'm gonna run this. I'm gonna clear the screen and run this command. Alright, so if I go to the documentation, we have to include it on top like this, and then we can use the React stars. So let's do this. So I'm going to copy this command and go back to our component. All right, we will be using the use state as well. So I'm going to call that now. So you're going to call here import, and that's going to be React, and also use state from. And this is separate. Actually, we will be using it, so I'm just including it. So for the rating, we just need this. All right, so now if I go back here, we have here, like, we need to use it like this. So I'm just gonna copy this, go back here, and where we added the label, I'm gonna paste this like this. It should be okay. So we just calling it now. So if we, okay, it's not gonna display because we haven't called this component anywhere, so we need to go into the reviews JSX here, and here we need to include our create review. So create review, so I just did it, and it included just fine. So alright, so let's see what error we have here. It says rating changed is not defined. So we included it this fine, rating change here. Okay, so here what do we need to do? Let's copy this. So it's gonna be on change. So what we do, we define a function. We say here function rating change, and it's gonna have a value in it. And what do we do with the value? We can set rating. Alright, simply console.log for now. Value. Alright, so if we go back here, we have something going on here. Rating is not already there, console. So if I click here, we have 4. If I click here, it's 3, 2, so you get the rating. And that's what we wanted. So we need to use the use state now, because we need to update the state. So what I want to do here, I want to say use state, actually like this, so you can see that. Now we can set up here rating. So rating. Alright, set rating. Initial value going to be 0. And we will be setting the rating. So I'll call this lowercase r. And here I call this set rating this. Okay, so we are just setting up the rating. Nice. Now if we go to our form, we need name and comment, these two fields as well. So let's work on that area. So for that, first of all, I create here input. Alright, so let's create it. So input self-closing, and you want to pass here a few things. So first is type, which is going to be text. Then I need to pass here placeholder, so that we can tell user what this is about. So it's name here. So user can add the name. Then we have a class name, so that there is some CSS already defined. So this is going to be name input. That's gonna deal with it. And after that, on change, we want a function. So here what I do is simply, because it's input, we need to get the input value. So I say here e, and syntax will be like here, like this, handle name. All right, and this is gonna get e dot target dot value. All right, and this way we'll be able to get the value. So handle name, we don't have it, so let's create it. So here on top, function handle, you can pass value again, console.log value. Alright, now if you go here, refresh, you can see there is some styling already working. So you can see now, as I'm typing, it's just keep on putting into the console. So we can use it. We can set the basically a state on it. So let's do that. So here we can say here use state. All right, and this time it's gonna be name. And initially it's gonna be empty, empty string. So I'll leave it like that. And now for setting the name, we can simply pass it like this. Now we know that we need to work with the comment as well, so let's do that. And for comment, it's going to be text area. So text. Actually, I need to start it. All right, text area. Now I need to pass here a few things again. So it's going to be class name first of all. That's going to be this is comment, so I'm going to pass here comment, and then we want a placeholder. Actually, we pass a default value here, so default value, and I want to pass here comment. We don't have this state, we're going to set it up. And on change, I'm just going to copy this. All right, so it's going to get the value for it. And this state, we don't have it right now. So let's deal with that. So on top, use state. There's a comment. All right, so set comment, by default empty string, and the function we called here handle name, it's going to be handle comment. I copy this function, call here function handle comment, whatever value we are getting, just pass here. The way we did set name, we can paste here, and instead of set name, it's going to be set comment. So it should be fine. So we already have name, we have rating and everything. So now we can work on our form submit. So let's do that. So here what I do is simply create a button. So I create a button. It's gonna be class name svt bdn. All right, so it will look better. Okay. Now I want to set up another state for validation of our form. So basically this button should get disabled if the values are not there. So what we can do, we can create a state here. So I simply say here use state, and here I'm gonna say disabled or disable. So here I'm gonna pass value by default, it's gonna be false. And so we say, okay, so if this disable state becomes true, we want to disable the button. So what do? We simply get this. By default it's going to be false, so I go here in the button, and here I'm gonna put a logic. So to disable the button we say disabled, and we pass the value disabled like this. And when you go now, you will see the button is disabled. So we need to make a condition here to make this disabled going there. So ticks, and then we need to say dollar, and here we are going to check if disabled state is equal to true. Then what do we want? We want to have the disabled passing there, so it's going to be disabled like that. All right, otherwise if not passed, we can pass empty string. So that's what we want, and this curly brace shouldn't be here, it should close here like this. Now it will work just fine. So it's not disabled by default as it is false, and it's gonna be disabled when it becomes true. And based on some things, we are going to set it to true. So based on what things? So let's say for the name, we want a certain length. Say the name length is less than 8 characters, we want to disable it. So what do? We're rehandling the name. We simply say here that what I do, I'm going to change this value to name, and I'm going to copy this and paste here. Here I'm going to pass a condition if name dot length, all right, is less than 8. Right, so what do we want to do? We want to set disable, and we want to set disable to true. All right, so it's gonna set it to, and here I say comment for the comment, and pass here exactly the same condition. I'm gonna copy from here and paste here like this. So for both cases it should work. So now if I type here V, you can say disable it. But we need to show a message as well, because currently it's not showing any message, it's just disabling it. So it's hard to understand like if what is happening. Let's see another thing now. So we need to show the message. For the message, what I want to do, I want to create another state this time, and this state is going to be quite similar to this one. So I'm just going to copy this, and also again. So what are we gonna call this? We're gonna call it validate name, and here validate name, the same way we want to have it for comment. So I'm gonna add here comment. All right, so copy these, pass here, need to make V capital. All right, by default it is going to be false. Okay, and what we do, I simply put here where should we add our adders, like I think better if we put it under save. So here what I do is simply say span like this, and inside the span I say okay, must be at least 8 characters or more. All right, so now if I go back here, and also I want to pass here picture like this. So a line, so it looks like nice. And but it is going to display every time we don't have any kind of condition. So what I do, I simply put it like so that it only displays when the validate name is true. So we go here, we put like this and this, and here we say validate and. Okay, if it is true, then show this. So that goes away, but if you type anything, it's still not there. Why is that? And that's because it's there, but we need to set it to true. So where we are setting this set validate name, if it is less than this, we want to set it to true, and else if it is more than that, we want to set it again to false as well. Actually, what I do is simply cut it, put an else condition here, put in there, and set disable. Also, we need to make the what button available, so it's going to be false as well. So then it should be working just fine. So the same way we need to work with the comment, so I'm just gonna do that straight away now. Okay, set disable false, and for this set comment we can do that here, set comment false, but we haven't set the comment true, so we can put it here and pass it as true, but we don't have it there, so let's add that. So what I do is simply copy this again, and here put again, and here we are going to check this time set comment. So set comment state validated comment, and we go here and pass this because message is going to be the same for both, and this will display if the validated name shows, and this will display if validated comment. So if I go back here, refresh, so if I type anything, you can see 2 characters, we get error. I remove it, we type, and here if I type anything, we get validate is not defined. Okay, why is that? Validate comment here. Validate comment. Okay, I made a mistake. It's a set validate comment, sorry about that. So we need to pause these here. Okay, so it should be alright now. Let's go back here, type something, we get the error. Now this error should display red. So let's see another way how we can put styles in React. So what I want to do basically, I want to pass a style tag. So simply say here style. And then here I say name style. Okay, so now this name style is a constant that we need to create on top. So here this where we have our function. I'll say here styling, and here I say constant name style is equal to an object, and in this object we can define the properties. So we can say color, and I want it to be red. And what else? Let's add some padding. So I say let's have 30 pixel and 0 pixel, and I think that's it. It should work. So name style. All right. Yeah, you can see now it's red. So the same way we want styling for comment, so we can do that too. So you can add more styles depending on your requirement. So here I say comment style, and simply again constant comment style is equal to object, And for now, I'm just gonna pass the same. All right, so it should be, if I type anything here, must be, yeah, we can even add messages like here I say name must be, and here I say comment must be, at least 8 characters, yeah, better. So we know where it is coming from, comment, and here it's name must be. Alright, so far so good. We have delete working, and now we have validation working. So if we put here and put here, it says that, but if we increase it, then you can see how it's gone. We can save it. Now let's save it. Saving a review or creating a review going to be similar to the way we did the delete review. So let's do it first of all. So what we need to do here is that on click of this save button, on click, we want to process a form, and that form is going to basically save everything. So let's do that. So here I simply say function process form. All right, this is going to work and store everything. So I'm just gonna copy this here, gonna go here, and here we can say add review function. So we have access to states. So first thing, when we hit save, we want to empty these fields. So for that, but very simply, you can set name and set comment again. So what I do here, I just simply get the set name, and in process form, we put that here. Instead of name, it's going to be empty string this time. And also we need to set comment because we want both fields empty. Also, now what are we going to do? We want to handle, let's say review create. All right, and this is going to take an object. First is going to be ID. So I'm gonna put a function for it. So I'm gonna show you for it in a moment. Other than that, we need a rating. So rating we're gonna get from here. We have our rating state, the same way we have our name state as well as comment state. So we just can pass those here. Where it is here. So name, and at last comment. Now I have a function which is basically what it does. It creates the random string. So I'm going to copy and paste that here. You can use this. So basically it's a make ID. You pass a number and it's going to get characters from here and going to generate a random string. So it's using a math random, and you can see that the function here. So we can use it. So we can call make ID, sorry. And we can pass here and pass here the length. So if I pass 5, it is going to create 5. I'm going to pass here 20. Okay, so it's going to do that. Now this is a prop handle review create, the same way we created the oh, that was in the each review. So we use the handle delete the same way we need to use it here as well, because it's a prop, so it will come from the parent component to your child component. So here it is coming, and then we are calling it here. All right, and we are passing this object to it. So here where we have our reviews, in this reviews file we can now handle our create. I say the one handle review create, it is going to be equal to, and I'm going to pass here the function name. So I'm going to call it add review. Okay, so this is the function. Now we don't have it, so let's add it. So basically we want to set the review. So we are going to call this and like this, and we want to have the previous reviews. So we want to have array, and it's gonna have the previous reviews like this, and we want to pass the review that we just created, so that's going to be review like this. Now, this review is not here, all right, so we need to pass it like this. So review comes and review goes here, so we pass here handle create, and it goes to create, and we are passing here an object, so this object comes here, it goes straight to the here, and it inserts, and this makes it available inside the array, so previously reviews will be there too. Alright, so let's see how it works. If I go refresh, I say here, let's say 4 stars, then I say here this guy's name is Mike, Jordan, and some content. Alright, so I hit save, we get Mike Jordan for rating, and we get some content. So if we want to delete it, we can delete it as well. So yeah. Alright, now it's time we work with the animation. So if I go to here and I open this URL, this is framework.com, so you can visit here, and the complete documentation and examples, everything is here, so you can check how we can do it. So basically we need to use a motion div and wrap everything inside it. So here it's the introduction, and you can install it from the bottom of this page. Just scroll down, you will see the installation. So here is npm install frame motion. So just copy this command, terminal, and run this command. And then we go to each review, because there we want to animate, because I want to have like an effect on each of these reviews. So what we need to do, basically we need to import let's go to the doc. If here the for motion, so just gonna copy this and I'm gonna paste here. Now other than motion, I also want to use the animate presence, so these two coming from framework motion, so that's totally alright. Now what do we need to do? We need to wrap our code inside it. So what do we do here? I start this. Now this part, which is ending it, it should wrap like this. So, alright. Now, not just this, we also need the motion div. So if I go here, I copy this motion div and go here, and we need to, okay, let's do it like this. And I don't want to close it here. I want to close it after this motion div, like this. Alright, so it's going to close here. Now the initial property is going to be opacity 0, scale I'm going to remove it too, and opacity 1 for animation, that's alright. Duration, pause here, exit, so that when we delete, what happens? So in that, we want to pass opacity to be 0 again. We just want to hide it. And yeah, so one more thing we need to pass here is the key. So we have each of these individual reviews, so it's going to be review.id. Okay, here. Alright, so let's see if it was working. Refresh, we have animation there. So if you click here, it goes away, and our animation is working perfectly. So if let's create one as well. So I say 5-star, Mark Johnson, some comment, save it. Yeah, you can see that when it created, it came with the animation. One thing I missed, that the form doesn't get empty when we create something. So if I go here and pass here some name and then some comment and save it, it stays there. That's needs to be getting empty. So for that, what do we do here? If I go to form and input, Here I call it value, and the same way I copy this and paste here, and this here are going to be name. So this is a name state, and this is the comment state that is initially setting empty, and we are also setting it empty when we are processing form. So refresh, so 5-star, some username here, and some comment here, and then I hit save. It gets empty here, and also this too.